Hi, it's Roz and I'm here with an announcement video for a kind of light-hearted summer reading event that is about bringing a little extra fun and adventure to your summer reading if you fancy it. Now, if you have taken part before in one of Mark of Book Time with Elsie's football tournament related readathons, you'll be itching to join in, and I will give you the practical details a bit later on in this video. But if you've never done one of these before, let me explain and see if I can tempt you to join us. So this is the Women's World Cup readathon, and there we have 4 hosts for this readathon. There's me, there's Mark, there's Alice with her giant bookshelf, and Jack the rambling raconteur, and we hope between the 4 of us to make this an enjoyable communal event, but that also gives you the chance to maybe read something from a couple of different places. There are 32 countries taking part in the Women's World Cup, and initially they're in 8 groups of 4. If you decide to take part, your name goes in a hat and you will be randomly allocated one of those 32 countries. And that is your initial country. Okay, and you need to choose something to read by an author from that country, your country that you're starting out with. And when I say something, I say that advisedly, and I'll come back to that in a bit. Okay. If your country, then the matches start. And if your country wins or draws, that's fine, because you're already reading something from your country number 1. If your country loses, then you will also have to read something by an author from the country that you lost to. That's the group stage. Okay. If your country is one of the 2 from your group that carries on into the knockout stages, you stick with your country number 1. If your country doesn't proceed to the knockout, is one of the 2 that's gone, then you adopt the country of the team that sealed your country's fate. Okay, so now you're into the knockout stage, and then it's always win or lose at that from then on. And if you win, that's fine, because you've already read something from that country. If you lose, then you get a new country that you have to read something from. So that by the end of the knockout stage, we are all reading something, by one or the other of the 2 teams that are in the final. That sounds like you might need to read loads of things. It doesn't actually work out like that in practice because of, the way it works. When I've taken part before, sometimes I only had like 2 or 3 countries because of, my teams won a lot. Sometimes, maybe 5. It's not as many as it sounds. But the random factor is the fun. If you happen to get a really strong team, you could go all the way to the final, never having read another country. And if you get a country that's a bit rubbish, then you're going to get initially more, but then you might end up with a stronger team that wins several. So it's rare that you end up getting a new country every time, if that makes sense. There will be a bit of a support package from your hosts, in that we'll have recommendations of writers and books from each of the 32 countries. But also the other people taking part will come up with things as you go along, and may say, oh, well, I read that in the first, so I recommend this to you. Okay. I said to read something, didn't I? Why did I say something? Well, your first country, you might want to read a whole book, but as it proceeds through the tournament, you might think, oh, well, actually, I haven't got time now. I'm going to read a short story or a poem or a new magazine article or an essay or, a folk tale, who knows what, from some of the new countries that you encounter as you go along. But also, there's some countries where, if you pick Ireland, say, if Ireland is picked for you in the first round, you're spoilt for choice, aren't you? But if you get Costa Rica or Panama, you may be struggling a bit to find a book. And so again, you might choose a short story or a poem or, something to make it easier. So it's a very easygoing readathon, this, with lots of flexibility. On the other hand, if your country is incredibly successful and just keeps winning, you might feel a bit, you're missing out. So you might choose to read something by one of your opponents, even if you don't lose. And also, we're planning to throw in a few kind of bonus challenges or elements, things to do with perhaps music or food from different countries, and you might choose to pick up on some of those if your country keeps winning. Oh, and of course, because it's the Women's World Cup, you might want to think, I'll try and read a woman author where I can all the way through. Yeah. So practicalities. So signing up, I would love to hear in the comments below if you want to take part. But to actually formally sign up and get your name in the draw, please comment on Mark's announcement video, and I will link to that in the show notes so you can do that, because if we've got all the names in one place, it makes it easier to pick them out for the draw. Secondly, the draw is going to be a live show with the 4 hosts, and that's going to be at 7:00 British Summer Time next Sunday. That's the 18th of June. So you need to ideally put your name in the mix before that. If you see this later and you want to take part, just get in touch and we'll find a way of sort of adding you in. But that's when we're going to do the initial draw for the 32 countries. That's going to be on Mark's channel. So again, I'll leave a link to Mark's channel. If it's easy enough to work out your what 7:00 British Summer Time is in your time zone, but if you struggle, just ask. There's going to be a Voxer group for everyone participating, and that is kind of part of the fun. If you have never used Voxer before, say in the comments, and I'll kind of give you a little intro but it's very easy and free, and is a nice way where we can all chat about what we're reading and how our teams are doing, or make recommendations. Now, thinking of making recommendations, well, in the description of this video, I will give a link to a match schedule with the timetable of when the matches are, because draw is on the 18th of June. First match of the tournament is on the 20th of July. So you're needed to pick and get into your first choice by the 20th of July. And the matches after that kind of carry on to the final on the 20th of August. So that's the spread of when it's happening. But I will also put a list of the 32 countries in the description, because I would love you to have a look at those 32 countries. And if you have a favourite book, a favourite author, a favourite poem, a favourite, whatever it might be from one of those 32 countries, please do stick it in the comments on this video, because we are going to have like a shared document with recommendations for each of the 32 countries and other, useful bits of information to do with the readathon. And so if you put that in the comments, I will add your recommendations to that shared document. So really hope you're going to want to take part, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.